today marks the 20-year anniversary of the moment that a spiky-haired, blue-suited rookie defense lawyer made his courtroom debut on GBA screens and screamed out his trademark, "Objection!" And my original plan to celebrate such a momentous occasion was to make a video talking about why this first game has withstood the test of time even a whopping 2 decades later. Why its murder mysteries are ingeniously crafted with cleverly laid setups and expertly delivered payoffs, both logically and emotionally. Why its fast-paced courtroom gameplay meshes so brilliantly with its slower-paced investigation sequences. And why its characters not only all serve a defined, impactful purpose in the story, but also successfully win over the hearts of players no matter how standoffish they may initially seem. And I wanted to make a video breaking down the mechanics behind why all of these elements work so well and combining together to kickstart the Ace Attorney's legendary journey. But then I realized, you already know all that. You already know why these mysteries are so smartly written. You already know the masterful dance of gameplay that is the investigation trial balance. And you already know what makes these characters so appealing that helps to culminate in beautifully heartwarming and satisfying payoffs. There's nothing I could say in an analysis video explaining why this game is so good that hasn't already been said by a million other people over the past 20 years. But I didn't want to just do nothing for such an important day in the series' history. So I ultimately decided to make something that's very, very different from the types of videos you're used to seeing from me. You're used to seeing me focus solely on the mechanical elements of games, movies, and TV, and analyzing why they work well or why they crumble under even the slightest amount of pressure and explode in a fiery inferno. You're used to hearing me strictly explain the mechanics of the writing, gameplay, and characters without much emphasis on how they personally affect me, outside of a brief conclusion towards the end of the analysis. But today, we're not going to be talking about mechanics at all. We're not going to be focusing on the stories or the characters or the gameplay or anything in between. Instead, I want to share a more personal story. I want to tell you the tale of how I came to be a fan of this series in the first place, how it's changed my life forever since the moment I started the first game, and why Ace Attorney means so much to me, even in spite of its shortcomings. And I encourage you all to share what this series means to you in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you all have to say on the matter. To trace this journey all the way back to the very beginning, the first piece of Ace Attorney content that I had ever seen was made by a channel called Random Encounters. I discovered them through Markiplier because one of their musicals had been uploaded to his channel 6 years ago, and that led me to check out their other music videos covering various games. One of which was, of course, The Turnabout Encounter, released in January of 2017. Now, I didn't exactly have a lot of context for who everyone was supposed to be or why they mattered at all. Things like the Blue Badger, the relationship between Phoenix and Maya, Edgeworth and Phoenix, Francisca and Edgeworth, etc., etc. was all completely lost on me. And a lot of the more subtle references went completely over my head as someone who had never even heard of this franchise before. But I did still come away from the video entertained by the zany courtroom antics and cleverly constructed mystery, even if I didn't quite fully understand the significance to any of the references to the games. And for a while, that was my only exposure to the franchise. Because while the musical did highly encourage me to want to play the games for myself, I soon discovered that they were exclusive to the handheld DS platforms, and a horrendously optimized mobile port that we don't talk about. So I slowly forgot about Ace Attorney over time, until 2 years later, when on March 1st of 2019, a YouTuber that I follow retweeted an announcement from the official Ace Attorney Twitter account confirming a remaster collection of the original Phoenix Wright trilogy that would be launching just about a month later. And I was excited. I was finally gonna get the chance to experience the games that inspired the musical that I had seen all those years ago, and see what the hype was all about. But nothing could have possibly prepared me for the magic that I was about to experience. I recorded a quick video the day that it came out, playing through the first case of the game, and within minutes, it immediately pulled me into the world. The dialogue was hilarious to read, and the satisfaction that I had in pointing out every last contradiction was unlike anything I had ever experienced before. It was the game that I always needed but never knew I wanted, where the gameplay is 100% driven by thinking critically and looking for all the logical holes to see how it all comes together in a bigger picture to solve murder mysteries. And I knew I wanted to record all my reactions for a YouTube playthrough, so I held off on playing the rest of the trilogy until I could find a time on my video schedule to marathon the trilogy all in one go. And so it was that on October 1st, 2019, I would upload the first episode of my blind Let's Play of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. And the rest is history. Because that's the day that changed this channel's impact on my life forever. Prior to that point, this was always just something that I did for fun. There had always been some people that I could interact with in the comments, and I always had somewhat of a viewer base, but never anything to the extent where I could consider this anything more than just a hobby, until Ace Attorney entered the picture. And I noticed people start regularly posting their thoughts in the comments. It started out as just one person, then 3, then 5, then 10. More people than I ever consistently saw returning to the comment section with each new video. And for the first time since I started this channel, I felt like I had an audience. I felt like there were real people that were actually looking forward to new uploads instead of just watching a view count go up and hoping that people liked what they saw. And I finally felt motivated to create content because I wanted to entertain other people and had the audience to be able to do so, as opposed to being motivated to upload just for my own satisfaction. And it's only because of this that I decided to keep pressing on. Because my original plan was to stop after Trials and Tribulations. But after I saw how many people expressed their interest in me continuing on with the series, how many people were looking forward to seeing what was in store for the channel after the curtain fell on the original trilogy, I decided that I would set off down the path of Ace Attorney throughout 2020, eagerly awaiting every last objection to the end of the line. And as it turned out, those games couldn't have possibly entered my life at a better time, because as we all know, 2020 was kinda a complete and total dumpster fire all around the world, and as I'm sure was also the case for many of you watching this video, it was a time of extreme uncertainty and anxiety for me. Having a compromised immune system already put me at a heightened state of consternation, but it wasn't just that. One of my closest friends was equally as vulnerable for other reasons that I won't go into here, and that, combined with concern for my family, made getting through each day incredibly stressful. In the early months, we had very little information on just how dangerous things were going to get, and I was desperately trying to absorb as much research as I could, while my senses were constantly heightened and I was immediately put on edge at even a sniffle from anyone near me. I was thinking about myself, my friends, and my family, paralyzed with fear as I played out all the worst scenarios in my head as to how this was all gonna end. And then, when the world shut down, I wasn't able to see any of my friends or my family for over a year. It led to the first year when I wasn't able to celebrate milestones and holidays with the people who mattered most to me, which dealt significantly more damage to my mental well-being than I'd anticipated. And to be clear, I'm very lucky to not have lost any family members or friends to the virus. But I do think that feeling of isolation is something that everyone can relate to. I was anxious every day about what the endgame of this all was going to be, terrified for my health and safety of my friends and family, especially when they were all so far away, and in a state of mind when I sometimes had the feeling that even just continuing on every day felt like a fruitless effort. If there was ever a time that I needed something to distract me from the world, it was the first few months of 2020, and that's where Ace Attorney comes into the picture. The original trilogy was the first time since I played Undertale that I really emotionally resonated with the characters in a game. I had plenty of incredible gaming experiences in between those points, but nothing where I literally couldn't stop playing because of how engrossed I was in the story, and how closely I felt connected to the characters. And that passion carried right over to the rest of the games in the series in one way or another. Even if it was just for an hour or two a day, it was a chance for me to slip out of the hellscape that 2020 brought us and spend time with characters I loved. To feel like I was doing something worthwhile with every contradiction I spotted in case I cracked, and to lift my spirits with each character payoff that even brought tears to my eyes during the highest of highs. At a time when I was having a hard time finding a reason to press on through the days as the world grew increasingly bleak with each passing minute, I found a universe that I could disappear into and feel like I was a part of and turn to as a source of comfort. It brightened my darkest days, it lifted me up from my lowest lows, and to be honest, I don't know that I would have made it through 2020 in one piece if it hadn't been for Ace Attorney. And as the cherry on top, I was able to share the magic of this journey with all of you. I was able to read everyone's reactions to my videos and see the far-reaching impact that the games had on other players as well, because I wasn't the only one who was living in 2020. And to read comments from people who said they looked to my videos covering these games as their own source for escape meant more to me than I could ever possibly express with words. And that, along with the impact the games were having on my own life, is what motivated me to keep pushing through the rest of the series all the way to the end. And from there, I went on to discover so many other incredible games after I finished playing Ace Attorney. I discovered the ingenious and unique Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, the hair-raising stakes and mind-bending challenges of the Zero Escape franchise, the perplexing puzzles of the Professor Layton series, the charmingly intriguing mysteries of Famicom Detective Club, the deeply enriching world of Persona 5, and absolutely nothing else. Every single one of those are games that I never would have played in a million years if it weren't for Ace Attorney opening my eyes to more games of its style. I had never heard of Ghost Trick or Zero Escape, and I probably never would have given Famicom Detective Club a second glance when it was announced. But now, thanks to Ace Attorney, I'm always on the lookout for games like this. I'm always looking for suggestions of games of similar style and genre because it got me hooked on these types of visual novels. And I am now in a position where I can play these games on my channel for an audience that wants to see more, and I owe it all to you. Every single one of you watching today, whether you're just discovering this channel for the first time or you've been with me since I started my Ace Attorney adventures, you've helped me turn this from a passion project into a job. You've all changed my life for the better, and I will always and forever be thankful of that for infinity and beyond, and I don't ever want to take it for granted. And it all stems back to this random Tuesday in October of 2019. If I didn't make that fateful decision to play Phoenix Wright on my channel, it never would have ballooned the way that it did, and I never would have been able to talk with all of you in the comments. I wouldn't have had a comfort game to lean on during a time when the whole world was falling apart at the seams. I would never have discovered so many incredible games, and would never have been set down the path to be able to make a job out of doing what I love most. Making videos like this and doing the best I possibly can to entertain and bring a smile to at least one person's face every single day with my content. And I wouldn't be where I am today, happier than ever before to be making content for you all, if it weren't for that blue-suited, spiky-haired lawyer who debuted 20 years ago today. Yes, Ace Attorney has masterfully written stories. It has wonderfully endearing characters that melt my heart, and it has endlessly addicting gameplay. But there is so much more to why this series is so special to me that I haven't had the opportunity to go over previously, and I wanted to take a break from my regular analytical type content to share with you why Ace Attorney is so close to my heart beyond its mechanical excellence. So here's to the next 20 years of Ace Attorney, and may it continue to change people's lives all around the world and bring unbridled joy to its players. Because it's certainly done both of those things for me throughout almost every installment, and I am eternally grateful for what the immensely talented folks at Capcom have been able to accomplish over the past 2 decades. And to think that all it takes is one 9-letter word to instantly bring me back to this marvelous world.
Objection!